Radical rhetoric from the left leading to some chilling consequences. A madman armed to the teeth with a gun, knife, and other dangerous items like zip ties arrested steps away from the home of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, telling police he wanted to murder the justice. The man reportedly angry over recent mass shootings and the leaked draft opinion overturning Roe versus Wade. It comes after last month's left-wing protests at the homes of Supreme Court justices, including Kavanaugh's house. The White House releasing a statement saying they've been, quote, forceful about condemning such behavior. Yeah, right. Take a listen to how they previously lit the fuse.
Activists posted a map with the home addresses of the Supreme Court justices. Is that the kind of thing this president wants to help your side make their point?
Look, I think the president's view is that there's a lot of passion, a lot of fear, a lot of sadness from many, many people across this country about what they saw in that leaked document. We obviously want people's privacy to be respected. We have not seen violence or vandalism against Supreme Court justices. We know that there's an outrage right now, I guess, about protests that have been peaceful to date, and we certainly continue to encourage that outside of judges' homes, and that's the president's position.
And now, excuse me, Chuck Schumer's reckless rhetoric is getting more attention after he directly threatened members of the Supreme Court by name on the court's own steps 2 years ago.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions.
And the Attorney General, who acted like a coward and refused to prosecute any left-wing protesters for breaking the law, now says threats against Supreme Court justices strike at the very heart of our democracy.
This kind of behavior is obviously behavior that we will not tolerate. Threats of violence and actual violence against the justices, of course, strike at the heart of our democracy, and we will do everything we can to prevent them and to hold people who do them accountable.
You know, I'm going to start with that last quote of the Attorney General, Jesse, and I'm going to start with you. When he says that words like that are a threat to our democracy, it's almost as though he's sounding outraged at what happened. But the truth is, when he had the opportunity to arrest, as so many demanded under Article 18 of the United States Code, Section 1507, he refused to do it. And this is exactly what people were afraid of.
That's a great point. So by the left's own standards, Judge, Schumer should be impeached. We should have a commission, like a January 6th commission, because remember what they said about the president. Remember January 6th, he said, go on and fight and march. Didn't say anything, but they said that was insightful and that he should be brought up on criminal incitement charges. So from what Schumer said and from what Psaki didn't say by giving it license to show up at the homes, by his inaction, the Attorney General, and this Ruth Sent Us group that still tonight published the address of Kavanaugh online and maintains that they will be outside his door again after all of this. So there needs to be investigation. We need to connect the dots. We need to follow the money, and we need to subpoena everybody and find out exactly what they really believe under oath. This is the difference between what Schumer said and anything else. These guys have appointments for life on the court. Right. When he says you won't know what hit you and you will pay the price, what is that supposed to mean if you're going to be on the court for the rest of your life? They're not a politician. They're not a governor or a senator. You can't take them out of office. What does pay the price mean? What possibly could you do to a sitting U.S. justice? That leaves a lot of questions. Also, what's up with the guns? They want to take our guns while people are showing up to people's residences with zip ties and firearms and knives, and they wanted to fund the police. The police being posted outside his house, that was the only thing that deterred the guy. He showed up outside the taxi, saw the U.S. Marshals armed, and then ended up turning himself in. This is sad, and I think they need to dial it back. This whole country needs to take a deep breath and just chill, because it's going in a really dangerous direction. And I know the media is going to cover this up in both sides. You're probably not going to hear about this in the next 24 hours, but we should hear about it.
Well, what is outrageous about this, Tulsi, is that when Schumer said this, when he said, you have released or unleashed the whirlwind and you will pay the price, it was in the context of abortion. It was directly to Schumer, to Kavanaugh, and to Gorsuch. I mean, if that isn't a direct line, I don't know what is.
It is extremely direct, and it is a direct affront to the Constitution. You know, every member of Congress, as you know very well, every member of the U.S. Senate takes that oath to support and defend the Constitution. Well, we have three co-equal branches of government. And so for the legislative branch to so directly threaten and incite threats against the executive, the judicial branch, which is the independence is sacred. We need them to be in a position where they're not feeling like they're pressured to rule a certain way because of these threats. And you have a high-ranking Democrat who's directly threatening that. I think the other thing with this, too, is, you know, with all of this talk about guns, gun laws, gun restrictions, I think there's so much hypocrisy here where you have the very same people who are pushing for stricter gun laws are the same people pushing for more lenient treatment of gun-related crimes. And so I'm interested to see, what are they going to do with this guy? Are they really going to throw the book at him and treat what he has done with the seriousness it deserves? Or are they going to kind of do the same thing that we're seeing in other parts of the country and let it go?
You know, I don't think they have any choice. This is the attempted murder, a planned assassination of a Supreme Court justice. But, you know, Greg, I want to ask you that let's start with the fear factor. You have a planned assassination of a Supreme Court justice at his own home with guns and one gun, several magazines, zip ties, a pistol light, duct tape, burglary tools. This is his home where his children go to sleep. I mean, in this age of so-called rage, as they call it, good people are going to be forced out of office, and an entire family is at risk in some of these cases because the left has lost it.
Well, the guy, apparently the suspect, claims he was looking for a life's purpose, right? I think that's what he said. What better purpose is there than to kill Hitler, right? So, I'm sorry, I meant Kavanaugh. But you can see how you can get confused, right? Because for 4 years, maybe even longer, the right has been portrayed by the left as either being A, a white supremacist, B, a Nazi, C, Hitler. Used to be you were wrong, now you are evil, and now you're the utmost evil. We've been called everything. The View just called the Republican Party in its entirety the home of white supremacists and insurrectionists, and the party should be banned. I think that was Sonny Hostin. So
it was. So
why wouldn't you have to ask yourself, let's say you take these people at their word, and they think that you're a Nazi and you're a Hitler. Doesn't it make sense that they go after the evil people, right? If you're a moral person and you believe these people, then you should go after Hitler and you should go after the Nazis. That's what's scary about this. I mean, we have crazy people on our side. We disown them and we never defend them. In fact, January 6th, we were the first people out there saying that you riot, you go to jail. We also said that there are people there that were wandering around like they thought it was a museum. But the people that committed the crimes, we want them punished. We don't see party when it comes to law and order. Apparently they do. But this goes back to the rhetoric of demonization, which is run by a Twitter-controlled model of journalism. A lot of these people that say all this stuff are craving online attention. They're like Pavlovian drooling dogs, writers, anchors, CNN, MSNBC. They keep trying to out-evil each other. And so what you have is, this is the result. I don't like connecting language to actions like this, but it is obvious that when you keep saying that somebody is evil, somebody is essentially Satan, you're going to have this. And that's what we've always talked about, dialing it back. We always argue on this table. We don't sit there and just demonize people. This is the result.
Well, there's no question, Dana, that the rhetoric is basically a call to arms to unstable people, and it always will be.
Well, I think you can draw a pretty direct line. And it's not hard from the things that they've been saying about Kavanaugh for several years to today. Yeah. And there's a couple of things that should happen. First of all, this group Ruth sent us, it's like the Westboro Baptist Church, right? Right. Except for one thing, and Judge, you correct me if I'm wrong, it's illegal to protest at the home of a justice.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so Ruth sent us is going to go to the house. They were at his house today. They plan to be there tonight. If I was the Attorney General of the United States, I would say arrest them all. And Biden should say they absolutely should be prosecuted. You cannot do this. They have to take a stand tonight And if they don't take a stand tonight, they are complicit.
Yeah.
The other thing is that the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, has been slow walking this bill that passed the Senate unanimously to protect Supreme Court justices. Why is she doing that? Fast track it tonight. And if you don't, you're complicit. The third thing is that Vice President Harris should come out and try to calm people down. For years, they've been saying that if Roe v. Wade is overturned, that the police paddy wagons are going to show up and arrest every woman in sight. Now they're saying that Roe v. Wade, if it's overturned, is going to kill women. And now you have this person who said, I will have a life's purpose by killing somebody that they think is so evil. What if Kavanaugh was not even good? What if you voted the other way? They don't know. They are so
stupid.
Right? It's absolutely absurd. And I felt a little emotional about it because I know Brett Kavanaugh for a long time, one of my dearest friends when I worked in the White House. And his wife, Ashley, is lovely, and he has 2 daughters.
Right.
Do his daughters deserve this? Do they deserve to go to school and have to deal with the fact that somebody was going to sneak into their home and kill them?
Yeah.
And if you don't do something about it tonight, you're complicit.
Yes, and by the whole family being in harm's way, the government is not doing its part in protecting its citizens.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.